Hello and welcome back to another video. So, this week I thought it'd be interesting to go over some of the arcade conversions that I've really liked throughout my time collecting games and just playing them in general. I'm gonna be honest, this leans very heavily with Sega. A little bit with Nintendo, mostly Sega. Basically it's just any game of theirs I've really enjoyed that had an arcade port, or that was arcade ported to consoles. So, yeah. And I swear, these aren't all Sega games. In fact, a good number of them aren't. It's just they happen to come out on Sega platforms. So, kind of starting with a non-Sega game, but that did rather famously come out on the Dreamcast, Power Stone. They're re-releasing this. They're re-releasing Power Stone 1 and 2 on the Switch with, I think, it's a collection. It's a Capcom collection. I'm not too sure what it involves, but yeah, I love Power Stone like nobody's business. I predominantly play as Jack, who is this fucker. I mostly play as Jack. I really like both Power Stones. Both are just fucking-tastic fighting games. They're kind of sort of arena-y. It's not side-scrolling at all. I'm not a huge lover of side-scrolling fighters, though there are a couple in this mix. Sort of. There is another game very similar to Power Stone that I will be talking about briefly, but yeah. My wife bought me this version of Power Stone I think a few months ago, which is very nice of her. Thank you, dear. But yeah, she bought me Power Stone, and I fell in love with it all over again. I really, 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 really love those games. They're really good. So, moving on. Get to the Dreamcast stuff in a moment. Golden Axe 2, specifically. Yeah, arcade version, ported to the Mega Drive. I'm not a huge lover of arcade games from this era, but Golden Axe is a very fine exception. It's a lot of fun. It's a side-scrolling beat-em-up. I think the proportions are a little more realistic this time around on the main heroes there, which is good, because they really weren't with the original. They just really weren't. If you've seen that artwork with, I think, this guy, he's blonde, he's got biceps out to like here, he's got ridiculous muscles, he looks like a steroided up Hulk. It's really strange. Here he just looks a bit like Val Kilmer. Or Tarzan. But yeah, I think it's Talia who plays who's the lady. I predominantly play the dwarf, to be fair. But yeah, Golden Axe 2, very solid arcade port, big fan. We're not done, though, with the Mega Drive. Virtua Fighter. I know. Virtua Fighter was on Saturn, so was Virtua Fighter 2. Virtua Fighter 2 is my favourite one, but I really like this port. I just do. I've got a few versions of Virtua Fighter 1, and I really admire this one. It came out very late in the 32X's life, which is a bit of a shame. But this isn't super expensive. It's actually very cheap. It's not as cheap as, obviously, the Saturn version. Saturn version you can pick up for like 5-6 quid. This one's like 14. But it's still a very solid arcade port that looks very good. Even in comparison to the Saturn, it's in a few ways cleaner. Yeah, very robust port of Virtua Fighter. Very solid. Really like that game. But yeah. Yeah, why not? Sega Rally Championship. Flat out one of my favourite games on the Saturn period, alongside like Guardian Heroes, Saturn Bomberman, Panzer Dragoon. Sega Rally Championship is just such a solid fucking driving game. It's got 2 players, it uses that fucking thing, which is great. I haven't actually played this with that, but it's on my list of things to do. Very similarly, the thing underneath it is the Virtualon Twin Stick, which I have actually used to play Virtualon. I believe this is yeah, there you go. Japan's #1 coin-op of 1996 explodes onto the Sega Saturn. Just as solid as it's always been. I'm a huge lover of Virtualon. I really, really desperately want to get Ontario Program for the Dreamcast, just down there, as well as kind of the Dreamcast fighting stick for it, because I love that game. I love Ontario Program. I think it's fantastic. I know that they had a fourth one for 360 back in the day that's region free. And I've been meaning to pick that up for years. I just haven't got around to it. But yeah, Virtualon. I think it's either this version or Ontario Program that was on this the 360 Xbox Live Arcade, along with games like Jet Set Radio, Fighting Vipers, Virtua Fighter 2. A lot of Sega games, actually. A lot of really good Saturn games are on that system. But yeah, Virtualon was probably the one I played the most. Predominantly the pink female mech, largely because she can summon a water dragon that kills everything in one hit. Which is cool. Very cool. Big fan. Big fan of that. Yeah, it's a really solid arcade port. You have to bear in mind, a lot of these I haven't played the arcade games of. Largely because finding them in the wild is borderline impossible. Most arcade games just have VR mass-produced trash, or very rarely will they have something like Daytona, which is excellent. I love Daytona. Just walking into an arcade and hearing Daytona is great, and I'm a huge fan. It's just you don't get the chance to play most of them. Now I've played Daytona. I've played Daytona. I've played Daytona USA quite a good number of times because there was an arcade machine of that down south from me. They also had Robotron, which is pretty wacky. But the major one they had, which is probably one of the most prominent series I have of arcade ports, is House of the Dead. Yeah, I found this copy in a game shop near me. I had the long box version of House of the Dead, but it's the light gun, man. Like, why would I not get this? It's the out-and-out light gun, and it's awesome. If I can get it out of the box and that thing breaking. There we go. Yeah, there's your little jewel case. Little jewel case of the game, which is fine. I've got Virtua Cop as well, 2, I think. I've got Virtua Cop 1. I've got the long box version of Virtua Cop. Oh dear. That's not good. That is not good. That is bad, in fact. Yeah. I'll have to flatten that out. But yeah. There you go. That is the Sega Saturn light gun. It doesn't work on modern televisions, which is great. And I don't own a CRT monitor that will be able to use it. So that's even better and totally worth £100 for this particular version. To be fair, I did trade in the long box version for like 80. So, whatever. Thank you for that. Yeah. Got Sega on the side. Yeah. It's little bits like this why I really like some arcade ports. House of the Dead is one I've played in the wild, along with House of the Dead 2 and House of the Dead 3 and House of the Dead 4, but for some reason that doesn't have a physical arcade that doesn't have like a physical release. It only had a download release on PlayStation 3, I believe, which is very strange. But yeah, I really like House of the Dead. There's one game in that franchise I haven't got yet, outside of 4. Well, 2. I haven't got House of the Dead Overkill, but I haven't got Typing of the Dead. Now, Typing of the Dead was a typing game where you have to type out the words as the zombies approach you to shoot them, and it's amazing. The main characters are walking around with like a Dreamcast strapped on their back like a backpack, and then these dumb keyboards that they have in front of them that they have to type while running. It's absolutely insane. It's so fucking good. Guarantee you that's not an arcade port. That's probably a home computer / Dreamcast port. But yeah, I mean, I even own, I think it's there, own a Dreamcast keyboard strictly to play that game. I just need to track it down. It's on my list. It's on my list of Dreamcast games. But yeah, that's kind of the Saturn and the Mega Drive and a bit of the Dreamcast. There were two others. So Techromancer, another Capcom fighting game, apparently published by Virgin Interactive in the UK, which is very strange. But yeah, loads of hidden features, destroyable environments, massive fucking robots. It's just really cool. I really like this game. It's quite expensive now. It's very expensive now. It's certainly getting up there. But I really enjoyed this. I thought this game was absolutely fantastic. It does help. It's got an absolutely fucking enormous manual that's in really good nick. And only 3/4 of it are in a completely separate language, which is lovely. But yeah, solid game. Very solid game, actually. Need to play this again. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since I popped out the Dreamcast and played a bit of Techromancer. But that's a very solid arcade game. Okay, final, I promise, final Dreamcast game. That's Alien Front Online. So Alien Front was a vehicular combat game in the arcades, I think mostly around America and Japan. Kind of released at the turn of the century. Yep, turn of the century. Then Sega thought, hey, that game would be good to port to the Dreamcast in America only, and maybe Japan, but not in Europe. Thanks, guys. And add online capability. So this was fully playable online. Really fucking solid. It had real-time voice chat. Now, that sounds like something very minor nowadays, but back then, whole different ballpark. You didn't talk to people online. You couldn't. The most you could do was text them in something like Phantasy Star Online, especially on console. Because bearing in mind, there wasn't another online active console until the Xbox released like a year after the Dreamcast was discontinued. And even that took a while to get the servers up. And, you know, even that was only really popularised by Halo 2. I need to get the original Xbox back online. I really, really do. I want to play Halo 2 online again. I've only ever played it once, which is a killer. But this, same thing. I want to get the Dreamcast online. I want to be playing this with people. I'd need to get a microphone, but I need to get one for Don't Panic Seaman anyway. And yes, I know. But yeah, I love Alien Front Online. I've mostly played it offline by myself. There's no local multiplayer. It's kind of fucking lame. Yeah, kind of lame. Kind of really lame. Super lame. Mega lame. But that's it for the Sega things. Now we'll get into just the few little bits for the Nintendos, including my favourite arcade port. Joint favourite arcade port. Now, I know what you're going to say, but F-Zero GX is an arcade game. However, it had arcade functionality. So basically, you could take your memory stick for the GameCube all the way to the arcade and try and find a game called F-Zero AX. Now, F-Zero AX was an arcade game. You can, earn new parts, unlock bonus features. Basically, if you come back and your memory stick had F-Zero AX data on it, unlock new stuff in here, which is amazing and really cool. And yet, only a few years ago, while surfing around on the Game Shark, somebody found that the entire arcade game of F-Zero AX is on here. All you need is a Game Shark. Just pop in the code, pop in the disc. There it is. You can play F-Zero AX on the GameCube, which is awesome. So F-Zero AX, Mario Kart GP, and Mario Kart GP2, as well as debatably a Star Fox game that got cancelled, were all being developed concurrently by Sega, Namco, and Nintendo for something called the Triforce. Now, the Triforce was an arcade machine. You can still find copious amounts of Mario Kart GPs everywhere. They're everywhere. There were other games for that particular arcade machine, but those were the major three. it's why Sega made this. So I lied about it being the last Sega game, but Sega made this, and Bandai Namco, or specifically Namco, made Star Fox Assault. I think the idea was eventually there would be some compatibility with a Star Fox arcade game that just never saw the light of day, which sucks. It would be nice, but we're long past that. Yeah. So, which is cool. It's a shame that something like Mario Kart Double Dash never had that kind of functionality with GP. So, like, maybe if you went and played GP, pop your GameCube memory stick into it, downloaded the data, bring it all the way. I could go do that now. There's like three of these particular machines in my hometown, in my town at the moment, which is pretty wacky. But it's cool. Unfortunately, no, there is no such functionality. And finding a working F-Zero AX machine, good luck. That's just not going to be happening. So many arcade games are just gone. It's impossible to find any of the decent ones. Most of them are in, like, bowling alleys or places like that, and they're all shit. Or they're all just Mario Kart. They're all just a Mario Kart port. Just lame. Super lame. Super fucking lame. Japan gets all the good stuff. Specifically, Pokken Tournament. So, back in the day, when Pokken Tournament came out in 2016, so this came out in 2016, just before that, it had been announced that there were a couple of Nintendo arcade games being released, specifically for Pokken Tournament. Pokken Tournament and Luigi's Mansion. Now, Luigi's Mansion never got ported, and I was like, fuck's sake. Whatever. Are they going to port that? Are they going to port this fucking Pokken Tournament thing? Why would they not port this to the Wii U? Thankfully, they did. Thankfully, they did, because I really like this game. I do. I even got a little amiibo card for Shadow Mewtwo, which does feel heavier than your average card. But yeah. So you pop this in, you just touch the gamepad on the Wii U, it unlocks Shadow Mewtwo temporarily for the time that the game is online, and he's broken as shit, and it's awesome. But yeah, Shadow Mewtwo's very cool, very solid game. Another arena fighter, very similar to Power Stone, which is probably why I like it so much. Kind of like, though it's got more in common with Virtua Fighter and Tekken, that's why it's called Pokken. Because it's Pokemon Tekken, so Pokken Tournament. I really like that game. I do. I'm not a huge Pokemon fan, at least not anymore, and I really like Pokken Tournament. I haven't picked up the Switch port, if strictly because I don't care. I don't care. I don't tend to buy Wii U ports to the Switch unless they've got something entirely new like Bowser's Fury. But yeah. That brings us to my two favourites. My two favourite games that are arcade ports. Specifically, I'll start with my second favourite, which is Cruisin' Blast. Now, this game is also in my local arcade, or the local bowling alley. And I was umming and ahhing, oh, do I get this? Is it worth it? Blah, 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 blah. Went in and played. I had, I think, an afternoon off. So I went to town, did some shopping, nipped down there with a couple quid, popped it in. And you know what? I loved it. I loved it. And I still think this is the best racing game I own on the Switch. Yeah. I own Mario Kart. I own Mario Kart 8. And I think this is better. It's more fun. It's the most arcadey racing game I have ever fucking played. Ever. And it's amazing. It's just so good. You can ride around, you can drive as a helicopter, you can ride as a bike, a fire engine, a triceratops, a UFO, a shark with freaking laser beams on its head. So much stupid shit. and the tracks are great as well. The only downside I'd say the only two downsides are, number one, there's no online capabilities whatsoever. So if you're looking for something to play online, this won't be it. This is strictly local multiplayer only. The other is you can't do more than one lap of a race. which sucks because those maps are amazing. They're so much fun. And yeah, so it means that the races are over very quickly, as they would be in an arcade game, but yeah, go fucking buy Cruise and Blast, man. It's so good. Part of a few cruising games that I don't own. Been meaning to pick them up after picking up this, because this is just so fucking... One game beats it, though. One solitary game that is an arcade port, and is that, I'm going to be honest, one of three reasons I bought a Wii U, or had a Wii U for Christmas that year. One was Wonderful 101. Really looking forward to that. The other one was Pikmin 3, because I really like Pikmin 2, and then I hate Pikmin 3. The other one was Tank. Now, I played this game in the arcades for years. Years and years and years. There was one in my local hometown. It was in the bowling alley again, as they tend to be. And this game was in there. And I fell in love. There's something about driving around as a tank fighting what is basically King Ghidorah or a giant monkey. And just... yeah. I've played this to death. I have played this with so many people. It's got a versus mode. Team battles of up to 4 players locally. It's compatible with the Switch, with the Wii U Pro controller, the classic controller for the Wii, the gamepad. It has one of my favourite modes as well. So one of my absolute favourite modes is called My Kong mode. Basically, you use the camera on the Wii U gamepad to take a picture of your face. Maybe going like, or something. And then that superimposes it onto this giant monkey that you then use the gamepad to smash up enemy players with. And I love it. I love it as the tank. I love it as the gorilla. It's just amazing. This is flat out one of the best arcade ports I have ever played, and one of my favourite games on the Wii U. Bar none. The only games that really outclass it have been ported to Switch now. So, if anything, this is my favourite Wii U game. Which is pretty crazy. But yeah, that's it for another week, guys. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. We're gearing up for Christmas. I've got an idea of what I'm going to do as my Christmas special. I know my wife's bought me some stuff that I'm going to be talking about, which will be fun. But also, I'm planning on doing, instead of a traditional, these are my top 4 games of the year, I'm going to be doing my favourite game from the last 20 years. So every single year for the last 20 years is going to be my favourite game. And I'm sure you can imagine what 2009 is going to be, because it's always Brutal Legend. Anyway, that's it. Signing off for another week, and I will see you next time.